Everybody, it's Binge the Body Whisperer here, just coming to you from, ouch, just kicked the coconut. Just coming to you from the beach here in Bali. It's pretty amazing, pretty impressive. Thought I would just do a walk and talk, beach edition, beach Bali beach edition, Black Beach Bali beach edition with Binja. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess there's not too much as far as like Binja stuff. I mean, I've pretty much laid it all down. Just reiterating, going back to finding what works for you, finding a way to find the patterns in your life that work. And if I heard somebody asked me a question about, was talking about something they don't like their life. Maybe if that's the case, that might just be you or your instinct or your gut or whatever you believe in is trying to tell you that maybe you're putting your energy or focus on something that's not maybe doing you any good, right? Now that's to say what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. That really kind of depends on you, right? So you might be trying to put yourself into a mold that just doesn't work for you. And that constant agitation, and this is coming from experience as far as from myself, like up until I was probably 39, I had a feeling of agitation, a feeling of, obviously we all have good things that happen in our lives, and so I'm not saying that my life was good. I couldn't see it though, in that sense of it was good in comparison, but I mean, all you know is your own life, right? All you have is your own thing. And if something just isn't there for you, you might need to follow that, scratch that itch, as I've heard somebody say, is scratching your own itch. Something is trying to tell you something. Something is trying to, you keep following. I would almost say follow the pain, if that makes sense. Because if you follow the pain, what's ultimately going to happen is you will come to a time. I'm just going to sit down here in the shade for a second. If you follow the pain, what I think ends up happening is how do I put this? And this is just again from one of the I think things that kind of keeps you from it is honesty with yourself. Being honest with yourself. Being honest that I think we're taught to say, no, everything's fine, everything's okay. Well, at least you're not starving. At least you're not you have a roof over your head and shelter, and if you don't have those things, then I think a lot of times you're not necessarily thinking about these things because you're thinking very like day to day. And I think that, again, talking about with Bali and stuff is one of the reasons why I think we live a pretty comfortable life, and in that comfortable life it gives us more leisure time to drum up problems in our life. And that's not to say that your problems aren't real. They aren't, but they are. I mean, if you believe or feel that they're real, then they are real, and you need to kind of come to terms with that on your own. However, finding that path or finding that thing yourself is part of the trick. With that, in the last 2 years, having kind of gone through this, kind of reaching the breaking point in my own life, and then kind of coming out on the other side, what I found is my life hasn't changed that much, right? I still do a lot of the same things. It's just my perspective on it has changed and what I've let go. And I think the biggest things that I've let go of, and I talk about this a lot, I've let go of regret from the past, fear from the future. And I talk about this a lot, that, luckily I ended up getting into acting. And I think what it was ultimately trying to do is trying to find truth in life, right? So ultimately I was trying to find truth in acting, but then what it ended up doing was that truth in acting is just kind of, it's a mirror for life, right? Because basically what you're trying to do is you're taking on these different characters or whatever, which are mirroring, which are just a story and a representation of life. So it's just you can walk away from play, walk away from a character. It's hard to walk away from your own character, but in a sense, that's what it is. You've developed a character that you've attached to. That's your ego. That's you. That's who you think you are. But if you can get to the point and realize that it's not you, that you aren't your thoughts, the things that you think that you remember, again, this is I'm not trying to say that this isn't real. It's real. It's real. It's as real for you as it is for me. I mean, I feel the sun on my arm right now. I feel the sun on my chest. I hear the waves. It's as real as anything. So I'm not trying to say, this is the Matrix and it's not real, so don't worry. But depending on how your brain works and how you think, what you can get away from is being caught up in emotional traps and then actually moving forward. So, and I think that's one of the biggest things, is the more you can quiet your mind, again, that regret, fear of the future. So regret, fear of the future, if you can quiet those two things, and I think there's a multitude of ways of doing that. I think finding faith, honestly, like practicing a faith, practicing an art, practicing something that can help you. Meditation can help. One of the things I did, I think, is I put myself in, I stripped away a lot of the clutter, like I spoke of, that I put on my page yesterday for We Equal Energy, is like clear out the clutter. I think for me, part of that was the clutter that was in my life was just a representation of the clutter in my mind. And I started clearing away a lot of that clutter, and something about maybe the way I was raised with my internal, within my internal truth, something just didn't match up. Now that's not to say it doesn't work for others, right? Within who were raised the same way. I think you can find that peace in that thing that you were raised in, but I guess I had to go a long way out of the way to kind of come back to where I was at. So again, I recently thought about this idea of peace soup. Like, somebody asked me, well, what did it take for you to get to where you're at? Because I used to be so resentful, so angry and fearful and regretful and anxious. What did I need to do? And it was a lot of things. So I can't really, part of it, I honestly think we have again, this is a system. So how you feed this body, it's a bunch of chemicals that react, and depending on what you eat and so I think cutting out certain things in my life helped with this system. Maybe the inflammation, reducing inflammation, which then, there's studies out there that show that it can cause depression. So changing diet, putting myself, I think, in more stressful situations to realize that it's going to be okay, letting go, meditation, actually giving up, trying to get things right, giving up, letting go of this idea of control, and then turning to, which I never really did, I didn't trust people, and I found trust in people, and so I turn to people now if something needs to be discussed. But the funny thing is, as I've continued to move through this process, that needs to be less and less, and I'm actually able to be there for people more, which, you know, you kind of just float through, and if you're able to be there for someone with maybe a thought or an idea, or maybe a perspective, I think that's one of the gifts that we can share with one another, right? So I know that's a lot, and throwing it down can be kind of, I think it's confusing, because as soon as I'm not trying to be convoluted, but as soon as you open your mouth and start to talk about this stuff, it's a feeling. It's like in your bones. It's something has changed. It's not something that I say, you know, it's like, it's something I feel. It's something that has changed. And I think within that, something that has changed as well is finding this kind of flow and this balance in life. It's a lot less difficult. There's a lot less resistance on my part. It seems like as things kind of come up and things come into my life, it's kind of, I have a faith that where I'm at is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I never had that faith before, right? I was always kind of worried about the future. So now I have this faith of where I should be. So it's a pretty happy place. So if, I don't know, you know, again, I'm just kind of going off of this, riffing off of thoughts. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Continue to like this page if you want to hear more insights or different things like that. But I definitely have a pull or a draw to share this, or maybe it's just even for me to kind of get thoughts out of my head, because I tend to not talk about it a ton to people. Well, maybe I do. But this, I feel like, is a little bit more of it's less about, you know, having an argument with somebody or trying to convince somebody of something. I'm just trying to tell you my truth of how I feel now. So yeah, keep moving, people. And, you know, thanks for checking in from Bali. And I have a rest of the day here. Going to just kind of go with the flow. I have a little bit of time that I need to go check out, and then probably need to kill some time. I was going to go and get some food, maybe grab a coffee at one of my places. Then I gotta get picked up and head to the airport. So keep moving, people.